Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. On behalf of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, I want to welcome you to the first of three virtual public hearings for the Bus Terminal Replacement Project's Draft Environmental Impact Statement, or DEIS. My name is Nick Fazio and I'm your technical host for today's meeting. Please direct your attention to the instructions on your screen. We are offering live interpretation of this meeting into both American Sign Language and Spanish. Please use the interpretation icon on your toolbar to choose which language you'd like to listen to today's meeting in. You will need to choose the language you'd like to listen in, even if that language is English. If you've chosen to listen to this meeting in a language other than English, you can click on the interpretation icon again and choose the Mute Original Audio option, so you only hear the meeting in your preferred language. Selecting this option is not required, but it may improve your audio quality. American Sign Language interpreters will be pinned on your screen at all times throughout the meeting today. Today's meeting will start with a pre-recorded video followed by a comment session for the public record. We've optimized settings for your viewing experience, but if you miss any part of the video presentation, it will be posted to the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project website at www.pabtreplacement.com, along with information about how to comment. Today's meeting is being recorded and will also be available on the project website at www.pabtreplacement.com. If you are experiencing technical issues, you can contact the technical team via the Q&A function on your toolbar or by calling our tech support line at 1-603-782-2460. You can also check your meeting invite for an instructional leaflet with more information on using Zoom. During today's meeting, only members of the project team and our ASL interpreters will be on video. Attendees will not have video and will be muted. If you are a registered speaker, your microphone will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. The chat function is also disabled for attendees, but you may communicate with our team through the Q&A box. If you did not pre-register to give a verbal comment, you may also submit a short comment in the Q&A box and it will be added to the record. We are accepting registration for verbal comments until 3:55 p.m. Again, we are offering live interpretation of this meeting into both American Sign Language and Spanish. Please use the interpretation icon on your toolbar to choose which language you'd like to listen to today's meeting in. Please do so now and select the language you'd like to listen in, even if that language is English. And finally, if you experience any audio issues during the meeting, you can change your audio settings by selecting the up arrow next to Audio Settings on your toolbar. You can also try leaving the webinar and rejoining at any time if you continue to run into technical issues. On this screen, you can see more information about how you can provide a comment today or at a later date. This information will be shown again during the comment session. Before we share the video presentation, today's hearing officer, Port Authority Legal Counsel Elizabeth Rogak, will provide some opening remarks and introductions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Federal Transit Administration and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, I would like to welcome all of you to the public hearing on the Draft Environmental Impact Statement, or DEIS, for the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project. My name is Elizabeth Rogak, and I am representing the Port Authority and am the official hearing officer for this hearing. For the record, this public hearing is part of the environmental review process for the proposed Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project. The Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, and the Port Authority have prepared a draft environmental impact statement in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA. The draft EIS was made available to the public on February 2nd, 2024. The public comment period will remain open until March 18th of 2024. At this hearing, we are accepting oral comments on the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project and its draft environmental impact statement. In a few minutes, we will show a 25-minute video presentation about the NEPA process, the proposed project's purpose and need, how the project will be constructed, and the next steps in the environmental review process. While the FTA and the Port Authority are joint lead agencies for this project, you, the public, are an essential part of this process. Your comments will become part of the official record. mandated as part of this federal process. The FTA and the Port Authority will review all comments received, prepare a summary of the comments, and prepare responses to the comments. These comments will be considered when preparing the final EIS. As appropriate, the analysis in the EIS document may be revised as a result. Please note that we will not be responding to your specific comments and questions at this hearing. All comments received during the hearing or during the public comment period will be documented, and responses to them will be part of the final impact statement. Please be advised that unless otherwise specifically stated by the commenter, all information submitted as public comments will be subject to public release, such as names, addresses, and email addresses. Joining me today from FTA is Raymond Chomchak, Community Planner. We will now begin the presentation.
Hello and welcome to this public hearing for the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project. This public hearing is being conducted in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act, more commonly known as NEPA. The Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, the NEPA lead agency, has determined that an Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS, is to be prepared for the proposed project, referred to as the Bus Terminal Replacement Project. Under the auspices of the NEPA process, the Port Authority is seeking federal funding to assist with financing the proposed bus terminal replacement project. The NEPA EIS will also serve as the City Environmental Quality Review, or SEQR. The FTA, in coordination with the Port Authority, has prepared the draft Environmental Impact Statement, or DEIS, with input from the public and in coordination with federal, state, and local entities. The DEIS Notice of Availability was published in the Federal Register. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will review the comment period, all comments submitted during this hearing, and the entire public comment period will be reviewed and addressed within the final Environmental Impact Statement, which is expected to be completed in August 2024. Following these introductory remarks, we will present via this video an introduction of the project, an overview of community engagement conducted to date, a comprehensive project overview featuring detailed site plans, an overview of construction phasing and process, and finally, the project timeline and next steps. The FTA, in coordination with the Port Authority, will be hosting a total of 4 public hearings, 3 virtual via the Zoom platform and 1 in person, for the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project DEIS, to hear comments from the public. Following this presentation, attendees will have the opportunity to provide comments. For those who have pre-registered to provide a comment, the moderator will call your name in the order in which your registration was received. Each participant will have 3 minutes to articulate their comments. If you have not pre-registered to provide a comment, you may request to do so once the public hearing is underway, and you will be called upon if time permits. Alternatively, written submissions of comments can be submitted after the public hearing through various channels, such as the designated website, www.pabtreplacement.com, email at pabtreplacementnepa@panyj.gov, by phone, leaving a voicemail at 92950273004, or by postal correspondence to the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. 4. World Trade Center, 150 Greenwich Street, 25th floor, New York, New York zip code 10007. Attention to Miss Elizabeth Rogak, Esquire. Or to the Federal Transit Administration, Region 2, 1 Bowling Green, Room 428, New York, New York zip code 10004-1415. Attention to Mr. Donald Burns, FTA Director of Planning and Program Development. We are here to listen to you and hear your comments. Your feedback is important and continues to guide the future of this project. In this section, we will provide a brief overview of the National Environmental Policy Act. This is followed by the project's purpose, need, goals, and objectives. The National Environmental Policy Act. Federal agencies are required by NEPA to prepare an EIS if a proposed federal action may significantly affect the quality of the natural or built environment. An EIS is a detailed written statement that defines the purpose and need for a proposed action, considers a range of reasonable alternatives, including a no-action alternative that is the future without the proposal, identifies and evaluates the potential environmental impacts from the proposed action and any reasonable alternatives, and identifies measures that may mitigate the potential effects of a proposed action. Project purpose and need. A new bus terminal is needed to accommodate approximately 260,000 passenger trips on a busy weekday. This translates to approximately 23% of all Trans-Hudson commuters at present, and bus ridership is projected to increase to 30% by 2040. Existing bus and passenger travel demand is forecasted to increase substantially. As such, the Port Authority needs to support the projected growth of commuter and intercity travel crossing the Hudson. The Port Authority needs to address the functional and physical obsolescence of the existing terminal. The existing bus terminal is already at capacity and will not be able to meet future demand. It is also past the end of its useful life and will require significant structural repair if a replacement project is not undertaken. The repair would fix some of the issues facing the building today, but reduce the capacity of the facility to handle buses. The Port Authority needs to address bus operations and storage and staging. Project goals. The project seeks to improve Trans-Hudson bus operations, improve the passenger experience within the terminal, provide seamless passenger accessibility to NYC transit connection, strive to achieve consistency with local and regional land use plans and initiatives, develop a project that optimizes life cycle costs, and reduce the impacts of bus services on the built and natural environments. Project objectives. An important guiding principle driving this project is the enhancement of the commuter experience within the bus terminal. This principle has played a pivotal role in shaping the following project objectives: maintain and enhance connectivity with subways and mass transit, deliver a world-class, state-of-the-art, sustainable terminal design, preserve and improve pedestrian and ADA accessibility to traveler origins and destinations, and establish direct bus linkages to the Lincoln Tunnel. There is more detailed information about the project purpose and need, its goals and objectives in the Draft Environmental Impact Statement Reports Chapters 1 and 2. Community feedback. In this section, we will review the extensive community engagement conducted to date. In May 2019, the Port Authority released a planning-level scoping document for public review that commenced a 120-day comment period. The document identified a long list of alternatives that were screened down to 3 alternatives that best met the project purpose and need. These 3 alternatives were: split operations between a rehabilitated bus terminal and the Javits Center, locate operations entirely at the Javits Center, and retain operations at the existing bus terminal site and Port Authority properties. The planning-level draft scoping document, summary of comments and responses, and final scoping report summarizing this process and outcome are all available on the project website, www.PABTreplacement.com. In June 2021, a notice of intent to prepare an environmental impact statement was released to the public, initiating a 45-day comment period to solicit feedback on the NEPA Scoping Information Packet. Following this period, the final NEPA scoping information packet was published summarizing comments received. This extensive public and stakeholder input during the planning level scoping and NEPA scoping periods informed the Port Authority in formulating its proposal for the modified proposed project, which is referred to as the Bus Terminal Replacement Project. Bus storage and staging. In consideration of the public comments and local community feedback regarding impacts caused by bus traffic on city streets and the utilization of street-level bus stops, queuing and parking across various locations, the Port Authority responded by incorporating a bus storage and staging facility that will facilitate direct connections between the Lincoln Tunnel and the new terminal. The new ramp structure, which connects the tunnel, storage and staging facility, and new main terminal, will reduce and further minimize any impacts to city streets from buses accessing the replacement facility. This reduced use of city streets will help offset the natural growth of local traffic that is currently impacted due to curbside and bus terminal operations. Additionally, during the planning level scoping process, the community put forth a request to the Port Authority to relocate the intercity buses presently operating at adjacent curbside locations into the scope of the project. Unlike a transit bus service, which has frequent stops within a city, an intercity bus service generally has a single stop in a city and travels long distances to reach other cities. Presently, some intercity bus services operate within the existing terminal, while others operate curbside along city streets. In response to the public comments regarding curbside operations, a dedicated floor within the new main terminal will now facilitate the efficient functioning of curbside operations. Project overview and site plans. In this next section, we share renderings of each project component. This is an aerial map of the existing Port Authority bus terminal facilities, distinctly outlined in orange. The facilities extend from 8th Avenue to 11th Avenue between 39th Street and 42nd Street. Project components. This locally preferred alternative, also known as the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Program, or the New Midtown Bus Terminal, includes the following components: a new main terminal at the location of the existing terminal, utilization of Port Authority property, an integrated building immediately west of the main terminal to accommodate commuter bus storage and staging, a new ramp structure and underpass to connect directly the buildings and the Lincoln Tunnel, publicly accessible open space, and private development at 2 locations on Port Authority property. Now we will walk through each major component of the proposed project. The main terminal will be located at 8th Avenue crossing over 9th Avenue between 40th Street and 42nd Street and will include 5 floors of bus gates, 1 floor for intercity buses, and 4 floors for regional commuter buses. 182 bus gates, approximately 40 of which are dedicated to intercity operations. Direct connection to the 8th Avenue subway and Times Square transit hubs. Best-in-class passenger amenities such as modern facilities, appealing street-facing retail spaces, modernized ticketing areas, and state-of-the-art design. The Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA standards integrated into layout and design. A partial closure of 41st Street will create a linkage of a north and south wing, increasing operational efficiency and public access. Larger central atrium, and finally, approximately 55,665 square feet of street-facing retail space, as well as 13,700 square feet of interior retail space. The main terminal will ultimately be connected to the storage and staging facility and ramps across 40th Street to create an integrated operation and circulation pattern. The new storage and staging facility will be located between 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue between 39th Street and 40th Street. This facility is designed to encompass 5 levels of storage, accommodating approximately 300 to 350 storage spots. This additional storage space is anticipated to reduce vehicular congestion on city thoroughfares and throughout the Lincoln Tunnel during rush hour. The storage and staging facility will serve as a temporary bus terminal for commuters during the construction phase of the main terminal. Additionally, the facility will provide approximately 65,700 square feet of additional at-grade retail space. The new ramp structure will be located at Galvin Plaza, west of 10th Avenue. The ramp structure will serve all bus movements into and out of the above-grade bus levels of the replacement facility to and from the Lincoln Tunnel. Spanning an area of approximately 350,000 square feet, the ramp structure will connect to the storage and staging facility and main terminal. The design of the ramps will greatly relieve congestion on 40th Street and 9th Avenue. This ramp structure design will also enhance the quality of the urban streetscape while optimizing bus reliability. The new ramp structure will maximize bus access to the Lincoln Tunnel and other approaches while minimizing the need for terminal-bound buses on local streets for circulation or terminal access. Adjacent to the storage staging facility, two below-grade sections of Dyer Avenue or the Lincoln Tunnel Expressway between 37th Street and 39th Street, and 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue will be decked over. The deckovers on Dyer Avenue will serve as a location for temporary bus operations and potentially for construction staging during the development phase of the replacement terminal. Following the completion of the main terminal, these areas will be transformed into expansive, publicly accessible open spaces, totaling nearly 3½ acres, enhancing the urban landscape. The Port Authority is committed to collaborating closely with community stakeholders on the design and operation
con las partes interesadas de la comunidad en el diseño y operación del espacio abierto. En este momento no
of options has been put forth for the development of this open space, as a consultative process will occur in the future. As part of the project, two private development towers are proposed to be built on Port Authority property located on 8th Avenue between 40th Street and 42nd Street. The two towers are proposed as commercial offices. Tower 1 would contain up to approximately 3 million gross square feet of commercial space with an approximate height of 1,200 feet above grade and a lobby entrance located on the corner of 8th Avenue and 42nd Street. Tower 2 would contain up to approximately 2 million gross square feet of commercial space, with an approximate height of 900 feet above grade and a lobby entrance located on the corner of 8th Avenue and 40th Street. These approximations are subject to market demand. The funding strategy for the project would include financing from this private development and payment in lieu of taxes. Upon completion, the Port Authority Bus Terminal will provide many advantages to its diverse customers, community members, and various stakeholders, including an elevated public realm, significantly enhanced user experience, improved vehicular and pedestrian flow, and green energy transition, to name a few. Beginning with the elevated public realm, there will be major improvements in the streetscape, including the integration of street-facing storefronts throughout the project site and appropriately scaled sidewalks and pedestrian areas for diverse users. The conversion of the Dyer Avenue deck overs into publicly accessible space will further augment these improvements to the public realm. The creation of a larger central atrium by linking the north and south wings will enable intuitive wayfinding and significantly enhance the spatial experience of the terminal. The new ramp structure and storage and staging facility will contribute to the substantial reduction in bus vehicle miles traveled on city streets. This streamlined traffic flow will enhance the reliability of bus commutes, benefiting the experience of commuters. Moreover, the expanded intercity capacity will accommodate curbside operators using the facility. Lastly, the new terminal will embrace a green energy transition. The project is slated to achieve a LEED 4 Silver certification with the intent to pursue an Envision Gold rating consistently. This aligns with the adoption of electric fleet changes and the incorporation of modern energy-efficient systems within the terminal, striving towards a net zero carbon profile. In this next section, we will provide an overview of the project phasing as well as the construction process. The project timeline is estimated to be approximately 10 years. Following scoping, the first 2.5 years of the project, beginning in January 2022, consists of an environmental review and the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, or ULURP, for the proposed project. Receiving and responding accordingly to public and industry feedback, and the procurement of construction, professional, and technical services for the project. The proposed project's timeline entails an estimated 8-year construction period, starting in 2024 through the end of 2032. The initial 4 years within this timeframe will be dedicated to constructing the Dyer Avenue deckovers, storage and staging facility, and the ramp structure. The storage and staging facility will open and serve as the temporary terminal by approximately late 2028, at which time the construction of the main terminal will begin for a duration of 4 years. The construction of the main terminal will incorporate foundational work for the private development set to occur independently in the future. Construction of the main terminal is anticipated to be completed by the end of 2032. The private development will occur after then and are expected to be completed by 2040. The following renderings will depict the 8-year construction period organized into 2 major phases. Phase 1, occurring between 2024 and 2028, will commence with early action activities focused on the construction of 2 deck-over structures south of the existing ramps. These deckovers will be placed over the mouth of the south and center tubes of the Lincoln Tunnel. Additionally, Phase 1 will include the construction of the ramp structure and storage and staging facility. The storage and staging facility will be equipped to operate as a temporary terminal when the construction of the main terminal begins. This strategic adaptation will allow the continuity of essential transportation services during the onset of construction for the main terminal, thus minimizing disruptions and maintaining the uninterrupted provision of transportation services throughout the subsequent phases of the project. Once the storage and staging facility is available for temporary operations, Phase 2, occurring between 2028 and 2032, will consist of demolition of the existing Port Authority bus terminal, construction of the new main terminal, as well as the foundational work of 2 private development towers. Once the main terminal is complete and operational, the storage and staging facility will be converted from temporary commuter operations to storage and staging operations. The Dyer Avenue deckovers can then be converted to public open space, with the foundation and cores of 2 private towers incorporated in the design and construction of the new bus terminal. The development of private development would commence subject to market demand and expected to be constructed by 2040. The sale of the development rights and payment in lieu of taxes for the 2 commercial office towers are needed to fund the project. In this next section, we will conclude with an overview of the environmental timeline and next steps. At present, the project is positioned at Step 5 within its comprehensive planning and environmental review process. The DEIS public hearings and 45-day comment period began with the publication of the DEIS. In terms of the next steps, the project team will consolidate all comments received during public meetings, including those submitted via the project website, email, mail, and voicemail. Then the project will progress to Step 6, in which the team will prepare and release a final environmental impact statement and the record of decision by the summer of 2024. Following this presentation, attendees will have the opportunity to provide comments. For those who have pre-registered to provide a comment, the moderator will call upon your name in the order in which your registration was received. Each participant will have 3 minutes to articulate their comments. If you have not pre-registered to provide a comment, you may request to do so once the public hearing is underway, and you will be called upon if time permits. Alternatively, written submissions of comments can be submitted before and after the in-person public hearing through the designated website www.pabtreplacement.com. Email at pabtreplacementnepa@panyj.gov. By phone, leaving a voicemail at 929-5027-304. Or by postal correspondence to the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. 4, World Trade Center 150 Greenwich Street, 25th floor, New York, New York zip code 10007. Attention to Miss Elizabeth Rogak, Esquire. Or to the Federal Transit Administration, Region 2, 1 Bowling Green, Room 428, New York, New York zip code 10004-1415. Attention to Mr. Donald Burns, FDA Director of Planning and Program Development. All comments submitted during this public hearing and the entire 45-day public comment period will be reviewed and addressed within the final environmental impact statement, which is expected to be completed in summer of 2024. The following slide is a summary of the DEIS public comment period schedule. The 45-day public comment period started on February 2nd, 2024, and will end on March 18, 2024. This concludes the pre-recorded presentation. We will now transition to the moderated portion of the meeting, during which comments will be received.
Thank you for your attention. As stated in the video presentation and on the screen, there are a number of ways that you can comment on the project. Comments can be submitted via the project website at www.pabtreplacement.com, by voicemail, email, and by U.S. mail at any time during the 45-day comment period, which ends on March 18, 2024. Any method that you choose to use during this comment period will be treated equally. I will now introduce our moderator, Maura Fitzpatrick, to begin the public comment portion of the hearing.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this public hearing. I will be your moderator for the public comment portion of this meeting. I'd like to go over the ground rules briefly before we begin. All of this is also on your screen, and the left side shows how you can make comments today, and the right side shows how you can make comments after this hearing. If you have not already registered to make a public statement and would like to, please use the Zoom Q&A function to make that request. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. We will be keeping time, and I will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time is complete. Please note, as Elizabeth said, that we will not be responding to comments or questions in this meeting, but all the comments submitted will become part of the meeting record. Also note that we have a stenographer here taking down your oral comments. I ask that you address your comments to the subject at hand, which is the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project, and that you use respectful language in your communications. If you prefer not to speak publicly, you can write a brief comment into the Q&A function. We can also have longer comments submitted by all the methods you see on the screen. I want us to stress that all of these comments have the same weight, regardless of how they've been submitted. I will be calling the names of those who have registered to speak in the order received. Elected officials will also be offered the opportunity to speak. And I will also be calling the names of the next few speakers, and you will see that on the screen. You can register to speak anytime today until 3:55 p.m. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted by our meeting host. Please allow a moment for that to occur, and please have your microphone level up. We will then ask you to state and spell your first and last name for the record. After that, I will begin to time your statement. As a reminder, we'll be limiting comments to 3 minutes, and I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left to wrap up. If you have additional comments, you can submit them via the methods on the screen. In addition to the American Sign Language interpretation that you see on your screen, we are also providing Spanish language simultaneously interpretation. For those of you who have requested language interpretation, and one of you has already, The interpreter will advise you about when you are next to make your statement. Please be sure to pause every couple of sentences to allow for your interpreter to have sufficient time to interpret to the group. And I want to remind all of you to select the appropriate language channel at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There may be gaps in the audio while the interpreter is talking to the commenter on their language channel, so please be patient with those gaps. The comment portion of this meeting lasts until 4 p.m. However, if speakers are still waiting as that time approaches, we will try to accommodate them as best as possible. And if time allows, people who have already spoken will be able to provide additional comments if they re-register for that. I will now be calling the first speaker. Please remember to state and spell your first and last name and that there's a 3-minute time limit. So thank you to our registrars for putting up our speakers. Our first speaker is Utsav Vora, followed by Lawrence Shayer, followed by Ken Fishman. Utsav Vora, we will unmute your microphone, please, and you can introduce yourself if you're with us.
Hi, Maura. I don't see Utsav in the attendees list.
Thank you, Nick. Then we will move on to Lawrence Shayer and followed by Ken Fishman. Is Lawrence Shayer with us?
I don't see Lawrence's name in the attendee list. So Lawrence or Utsav, if you are there, feel free to reach out through the Q&A box and let us know who you are.
And we'll also be calling these names again later on in the list in case they're joining us late. So our third registered speaker is Ken Fishman. Is Ken Fishman with us?
Well, I have someone named Ken. So Ken, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
If you are Ken Fishman, please state and spell your first and last name, and I will begin to time you. And if you are not Ken Fishman, we will move on to our next set of speakers. Okay, I'm going to ask our registrars to please put the next set of speakers. And Ken Fishman, we will come back to you if you are with us and having some technical difficulties. Our next speaker is Keith DeMatteis, followed by Michael Horaci. Is Keith DeMatteis with us? Hearing none. Okay, thank you. And then our next speaker is Michael Horaci. Michael Horaci is not with us. I'll ask our registrar to put up our next speakers. Thank you. So after Keith DeMatteis and Michael Horaci. Give us a moment. And again, if there are people in the audience who would like to speak, we obviously will have some capacity to hear from you. So the next speaker is S. May.
Esme, I've
Yes,
you to
hi.
unmute yourself.
All right.
Hi,
Esme,
can you hear me?
yes, loud and clear. Thank you. We're glad you're with us.
All right, fantastic. So, yes, so
spell
I
your
have,
first and last name, please, for me before you begin, and then I'll start your time.
right. Sue, S-U-E, and the last name is M-A-Y.
Go ahead.
Okay, so our apartment overlooks the parking deck of the Port Authority bus terminal, and we're very concerned about the impact of the demolition and the rebuilding. Is there asbestos or other hazardous substances at the terminal currently? And if yes, what are the measures that will be taken to ensure that they will not contaminate the surrounding areas? And I also have further questions as to whether the structure will be imploded or will it be dismantled in some other way? And will the main terminal be dismantled and rebuilt first, and then they phase it out and then only dismantle the parking decks later? Or will both the terminal building and the parking decks be dismantled simultaneously? So that is part of my concern from a environmental sort of hazard standpoint. And then the second part of my concern is whether the project will be completed fully, given that funding is dependent on selling air rights to commercial builders, and commercial builders now, as you I'm sure know, are not very eager to put up new buildings, considering that there's a lot of vacancy in Manhattan. So what will happen if you have funding from governmental sources to begin the project, and demolition takes place, and the staging buildings are built, etc., and perhaps there is a part demolition, but then later find that there is no taker for the for wanting to buy the air rights to build the two towers. What will happen then? Will this end up being one of those projects that hangs in limbo with it just being an eyesore, not to mention the disruption at that point?
Seconds remaining, please.
I beg your pardon?
Seconds remaining, please.
Oh, okay. All right. So those are my concerns, and I mentioned, and I also see you no longer mention the other two towers that were going to be built between 8th and 9th Avenue. Have those been scrapped? And is the proposal currently only the first two towers at 8th Avenue? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, give me 1 second to reset my clock. Okay, and our next speakers are Kevin Mitchell, followed by Christina Ray, followed by Gwyneth Leach. So Kevin Mitchell, if you're with us. Whoops, that's my fault. Sorry about that. I have two timers going and one of them is making a mess. Okay, sorry about that. That was my fault. So, Kevin Mitchell, if you're with us, please state and spell your first and last name, and we will start to time your comment. If Kevin Mitchell is not with us, we'll go to our next speaker. It's Christina Ray, followed by Gwyneth Leach, followed by Charles Nye. Is Christina with us? If not, we'll go to Gwyneth Leach, followed by Charles Nye. Gwyneth with us, or Charles Nye?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Charles. If you could please state and spell your first and last name for us for the record, and then we will begin to time you.
My name is Charles Nye, Charles, and Nye is NY. I'm concerned as a blind person about how blind people will be able to navigate the new terminal. I think it's important that we think about such things as maybe guideway tactile strips that can, so that the person could use their cane and tap along, especially with open plaza spaces. There are companies out there such as IRA. I think it's spelled AIRA. I think they can be found at AIRA.io, which the Port Authority uses in JFK Airport and LaGuardia Airport, where sighted assistance can be given to a blind individual. And also, I think it's very important for Access-a-Ride, which is a paratransit service in New York City, to have their own bus stop inside the terminal. So just to make it easier for passengers with disabilities to basically get dropped off alongside the other buses. And maybe another alternative could be if there could be some sort of ushers or employees that can be reached to give assistance to someone with disabilities. Like, for example, with the Long Island Railroad, they have their own system where you can request assistance and get assistance on the platform throughout your whole journey. And I think it's really important that this new bus terminal be 100% accessible. And there's other alternatives such as with NaviLens, there are QR codes that could be used. But again, with the iPhone, with assistive technology, sometimes the battery power's not so great, and some people with disabilities don't have smartphones. So, maybe some sort of mixture, or like I said, have some sort of employees helping out, maybe some area where they can be reached. And like I said, really important to have access ride, to have a presence where they, the access ride bus can actually drive into the facility area and drop passengers off, something like that. And that's all my comments. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Charles, take care. And our next speaker is Tonya Roman, followed by Patricia Franz, followed by Zul Zokowitz. So is Tonya Roman with us? Tonya is not with us. We have Patricia Franz.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Patricia. If you could first spell your first and last name for us, and then I'll begin to time you.
Sure. It's PATRICIA. Last name is Franz, F as in Frank, RAN, Z as in zebra.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm speaking as a longtime resident of the neighborhood, and I have a very specific concern. It involves the fabric, the existing fabric of the neighborhood, and in particular, small businesses. And I'm especially concerned for those that stand immediately across 9th Avenue from the existing Port Authority terminal and are right in the path of this development between 40th Street and 41st Street on the west side. So as I say, this is a very specific concern. There are two businesses in particular, a fresh fish store and the International Grocery. They've been there for decades. They are neighborhood institutions, and they're an invaluable resource for members of the community because they provide really distinctive, good, nutritious food at reasonable prices. And so it's somewhat heartening what I'm seeing from the plans that you've shown. It looks like the street level development is hopefully will not affect those buildings. And of course, it's those businesses, but it's also the buildings themselves and the distinctive character of our neighborhood. So I would just hope that some concern is being given to existing businesses and support for them so that they will not be displaced and that the residents of the neighborhood will still have access to them. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Appreciate it. Thank you. So our next speaker is Zul Zokowitz, followed by Johnny Pacheco, which will be had with a Spanish interpreter, and then followed by Joseph Hike. So Zul Zokowitz. Zul, you are not with us. We will then call upon our next commenter who is going to be interpreted through our Spanish interpretation. So we're calling upon Johnny Pacheco, but you will be hearing the voices of our Spanish interpreter. And Spanish interpreter, if you could spell Johnny's first and last name for us before you begin the comment.
And Maura, I don't see Johnny in the attendee list.
All right, thank you.
Interpreter speaking. Can you hear me? I was going to say that no one has responded.
Okay, thank you, Sonia.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, then our next speaker is Joseph Hike.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes, Joseph, if you would please first spell your first and last name for us. Everyone's going to sick of me here saying that. And
Sure.
we'll get
Joseph, Joseph, Hyche, Hyche. I mean, obviously we need a new Port Authority. It's decrepit and falling apart. So it's good that there's a plan. My concern, I live in the area. I'm between 10th and 11th Avenues, and it's, the ramps kind of cross over a little bit of 9th and a little bit of 10th Avenues, and ramps really kind of destroy the entire pedestrian area around them. And so my concern is this giant ramp structure. Is it just going to be a giant scar essentially that destroys everything around here? Because as a pedestrian, when you walk around sort of the Port Authority ramps, like it's basically desolate. There's no pedestrian activity. There's no storefronts. There's no, like, they really just destroy the whole area. So there was an option earlier where there was some form of like they were talking about, I don't know, if like burying the ramps or sort of connecting underground as opposed to sort of having some high-rise ramp structure. I mean, obviously that doesn't seem to be part of their proposal now, which is unfortunate because it'd be nice to get our neighborhood back. But I just want to voice the need for some kind of concern for not basically making a ramp desert, like all around several different homes. And I just hope there's some thought and attention sort of paid to kind of the destruction that ramps bring. It would be helpful just as a person in the neighborhood to see an elevation of what these look like. Because if there's some form of like street level activity or storefronts, and I'm not quite sure how that would work with a ramp structure because it's not necessarily like a station per se. It would just be helpful to see kind of what they might look like from a pedestrian perspective, because maybe they're going to be designed really well in some way that will make it a little bit more integrated into the neighborhood versus like a giant scar. So, you know, I just wanted to voice the concern as a pedestrian. And I'm hoping that this new structure won't literally be a 3-avenue block scar that separates everything kind of above and below like 39th and 42nd Street. So if there is an opportunity where someone in the design aspect of this project has elevations, it would just be really helpful to see. So I think that's really it. I just wanted to voice concern as a pedestrian.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to go back to the beginning of our list for those of you who might have joined us a little bit late. Utsav Voras would be next, followed by Lawrence Shire, followed by Ken Fishman. Has Utsav joined us? I believe that Lawrence has. So if that's the case, Lawrence, we will unmute your microphone and ask you to state and spell your first and last name for us before I begin to time you. Lawrence is there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hi, Lawrence. Welcome.
My name is Lawrence Shire, spelled Lawrencescheyer.
Go ahead.
This is a very exciting project. I'm a Port Authority alum, and I look forward to seeing this project go forward. It's in the right place. It's going to perform the right services, and the timing it couldn't be sooner. However, we do need to take care of a couple of things to ensure that this will be useful going forward in the next 50 years. It needs to be large enough, flexible enough to support hydrogen-powered as well as electric-powered buses, single and double decks as well. And for intercity buses, we really need to make sure that it has the capacity to get all of the on-street bus loading into a bus station, which is where it belongs. It's time for intercity bus riders to again enjoy the climate-controlled, weather-protected advantages that the bus terminal has afforded, but it's undersized for. As for people who come through the facility, I do hope that they have the ability through the operators like New Jersey Transit to take advantage of the wonderful Omni system that the MTA has created, which will allow for a seamless transfer from one mode to another. One thing that does concern me about the project is the financing, and that with respect to the pilot and the speculative office tower really need to be addressed. The pilot depends upon another party that the Port Authority doesn't have any control over agreeing to hand over funds and be partners financially in this new building. And we need to see some assurances that that politically is going to fly, because so much of this project depends upon that revenue stream. The other part of the funding is a speculative office tower.
You have
And
30 seconds, please.
And the Port Authority has experience with that. Tower, the North Tower here was supposed to be an office building in 98. There was an RFP, nothing came of it. And at 2 World Trade Center, we're expecting the second largest building there, but nothing's come of that so far. So those are my, that's my support, and those are my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, next, if we're there with us, we have Ken Fishman, followed by Keith DeMatteis, followed by Michael Harachi. There's our Ken Fishman with us, or Keith DeMatteis, or Michael Harachi. If not, we will put up the next set of names. And again, you can continue to sign up to speak if you change your mind until 5 of 4 today. We will be here until 4 p.m. If our registrars have any additional names for me. Okay, we have Michael Harachi, we believe is not with us, followed by Kevin Mitchell, followed by Christina Ray. Are Kevin Mitchell or Christina Ray with us? Not, we will follow the next set of names. Registrars are busy behind the scenes capturing these updates. Okay, so I believe that we do not have any additional speakers signed up. What we will do now is we will just pause for a few minutes. We'll put up a slide indicating that we will check in every few minutes and see if anybody else has signed up to speak. So if our registrars could put up our slide saying that we will check in every 5 to 10 minutes. And again, we will be here till 4 p.m. Thank you. Thank you. And so I will be taking myself off mic and off video, but I will be behind the scenes checking in to see if there are any additional speakers. Thank you so much. We're just going to wait a couple minutes before we get closer to 4 p.m. before we officially close this hearing. But as we have said the last couple of times I've come on, we do not have any additional speakers. So this is concluding the public comment portion of this meeting. And I will now turn it over to Elizabeth Rogak to make final comments. So thank you, for being with us today.
Thank you, Maura. Thank you, Ray. There are 2 more virtual hearings scheduled during the comment period where interested members of the public can receive information contained in the draft environmental impact statement and provide oral comments related to the proposed project and the draft EIS. They will be this evening, Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, from 6 to 8 p.m., and tomorrow, Thursday, February 22nd, at 6 to 8 p.m. On behalf of the FTA and the Port Authority, thank you all for your participation and your comments on the Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Project's draft environmental impact statement. The time is now 3:57. We could wait a few more minutes before concluding.
I think it's safe to say that.
I shall then conclude this public hearing. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.